17. This is Teacher Ova. We are doing story time again, and the story today is Muncha, Muncha, Muncha. Muncha, Muncha, Muncha by Candace Fleming, illustrated by G. Brian Harris. For years, Mr. McGreely dreamed of planting a garden. He dreamed of getting his hands dirty, of growing yummy vegetables, and of gobbling them all up. But he never once tried it until... "This spring," cried Mr. McGreely. "This spring, by golly, I'm gonna plant a garden." So he hoed, and he sowed, and he watched his garden grow. Oops. Lettuce, carrots, peas, tomatoes. "Yum, yum, yummy," said Mr. McGreely. "I'll soon fill my tummy with crisp, fresh veggies." But one night, when the sun went down and the moon came up, 3 hungry bunnies appeared. Tippy, 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 pat. Muncha, muncha, muncha. Uh-oh, looks like they were eating it. The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his gnawed sprouts, he was angry. So he built a small wire fence all around his vegetable garden. "There," he declared, "no bunny can get into my garden now." And the sun went down, and the moon came up, and tippy, 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 pat. Spring hurtle, dash, dash, dash. Muncha, muncha, muncha. Uh-oh, the bunnies are eating it up again. The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his nibbled leaves and gnawed sprouts, he was really angry. So he built a tall wooden wall behind a small wire fence all around his vegetable garden. He huffed. Those flop ears will never get over it. No bunny can get into my garden now." See what he built? And the sun went down, and the moon came up, and tippy, 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 pat. Dig, scrabble, scratch, scratch, scratch. Spring hurtle, dash, dash, dash. Muncha, muncha, muncha. Uh-oh. The next morning, Mr. McGreely saw his chewed stems, his nibbled leaves, and his gnawed sprouts. He was really, really angry. So he made a deep, wet trench outside the tall wooden wall behind the small wire fence, all around the vegetable garden. "Ha!" he snorted. "Those pufftails can't get under it. They can't get over it. No bunny can get into my garden now." See that wet trench. And the sun went down and the moon came up. And tippy, 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 pat. Dip, paddle, splash, splash, splash. Dig, scrabble, scratch, scratch, scratch. Spring, hurdle, dash, dash, dash. Muncha, muncha, muncha. Didn't work. The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his chomped blossoms, his chewed stems, his nibbled leaves, and his gnawed sprouts, he was furious. So he hammered and blocked, sawed and stopped, drilled and filled and trapped and locked. And he built a huge, enormous thing before the deep, wet trench, outside the tall wooden wall, behind the small wire fence, all around his vegetable garden. "I've outsmarted those twitch whiskers for sure," he exclaimed. "They can't get through it. They can't get under it. And they can't get over it. No bunny, no way, no how can get into my vegetable garden now." And the sun went down, and the moon came up, and tippa, tippa, tippy, stop! The 3 hungry bunnies looked and smelled and touched the huge, enormous thing before them, and tippy, 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 pat. The bunnies hopped away. They couldn't get in. The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his untouched vegetables, he was happy. "I beat the bunnies," he whooped, and did a jiggly, wiggly victory dance. Then he climbed over, jumped across, squeezed between, and crawled under until he reached his vegetable garden. "Ah," sighed Mr. McGreely, "at last." Smacking his lips, he picked and pulled up lettuce, carrots, peas, tomatoes, and with its basket overflowing, he reached inside for something yummy. What's he gonna grab? Muncha, muncha, muncha. Uh-oh, the bunnies got in anyways, huh? Oh, but look at that. They're all sharing now. The